welcome to the Chronicles of Nanny-a, a nanny resource podcast made for nannies by me, a nanny. I am your host, Martha Reddick, and this week we are going to be talking about the US Nanny Association. And to do that, I have brought on Elizabeth Malson. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hello, how are you, Martha?
I'm doing so well. How are you?
It is so great to be here today. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yes, I'm so excited that we could connect and talk about this wonderful resource for nannies. This is kind of like right in the wheelhouse of what my show is about. So I'm so excited to have you here. Before we get started talking about specifically the US Nanny Association, let's hear a little bit about your background.
Yes, absolutely. So in the nanny world, in our beautiful community, I am nanny mom boss. I have had the privilege to have 3 or 4 great live-in and live-out nannies who have helped me raise my son, because I was a executive working mom who was also a single mom. And so I needed all that help with newborn care, getting toddlers. And I used to travel for work, so I had a live-in who would help me at that. I had great experiences, but like many in our nanny community, I had some tough experiences. Yeah. And so about 3.5 years ago, I had the opportunity to leave the corporate world and give back to a community. And I chose to do that in a way by founding Amsley Institute. And in that venture, I brought 30 faculty experts together, and we created the very first online college program designed for nannies that you can finish in 50 hours and gives you the tools to really elevate your career. So that brought me into the community of nannies, where I met other, mom bosses. I met tons of nannies. I met nanny leaders, industry leaders, nanny agency owners. And I really had the wonderful opportunity to present at 2 of our big industry conferences and meet even more people. And the people I met became the foundation of the US Nanny Association.
Oh, I love it. And if you are listening and you're like, oh, but I would love to know more about the Amsley Institute, there is an episode also featuring Elizabeth on that. So if you are listening and you are curious to know more about that, go back into the archive, and there is a whole episode about it, because it's well worth learning about if you don't already know. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that we have talked about that resource, and it is there for you, because it is a wonderful resource. But today we're talking about the US Nanny Association, which I'm just so pleased to be a part of and to tell other nannies about. So let's get started first off with just generally what does the US Nanny Association provide? What kind of resources do you all have?
Absolutely. And before I dive into resources, I want to kind of expand a little bit on the community that is the US Nanny Association, because in addition to our resources, the community and the people are our foundation. So while I thought I was doing one thing in the nanny industry, I actually learned from and met amazing people like Angela Johnson, Kimberly Brown, Heather Pence, Simon Latif, Emily Luange, Alicia Wiles. There's all these amazing people in our community. Muriela Alexis, who does a lot in our Spanish community. And I met all these wonderful people. And the US Nanny Association, in a nutshell, are volunteers who want to do something different, big, bold, to elevate our community. And so that is hugely important to our story. I am one of over a dozen people who are committed to do at least 10 to 15 hours of volunteer work a month. And these board of director members, and there's more than what I've listed, also have committees of other people who are volunteering time every month. And so this is the core of this story. It's nannies, it's nanny agency owners, it's educators, it's people who are leading great things in the communities like this podcast, who are actually using platforms to bring us together. And that's what the US Nanny Association is.
Yes, and I love that. And I love that we work in a profession where, I know Angela, just off the top of my head, has approximately 1 million projects that she's doing. So the fact that, she finds time and that this is so important to her is just amazing. It's amazing work.
And that's what the US Nanny Association is. It's a platform. And how I envision it was different than how she envisioned it, which is different how other people envision it. And that's what it's for. It's a gift to our industry to say, hey, look, this is a platform we can use to bring each other together. So now
Yeah.
let's talk about what do we do? How do we do that? Because that's a bold statement, right?
It
We're going to
is.
try.
It is.
We want to find the 3 or 4 million nannies out there and bring them together, right?
Right.
And people have tried this and it's hard. So how are we going to try to do it? First and foremost, we have an amazing social media team. A shout out to Alicia, Kat, Val, and Mandy, because they do 5 posts a day, every day,
Mm.
on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. And our goal there is to motivate and educate. So please join us on those platforms. In addition to social media, we publish an article every week from an industry expert. We have a webinar every week, and these webinars can be on child development. They can be nannies sharing stuff with other nannies. One week we had a professional leadership coach who came in and told us about leadership styles and feedback and how to grow ourselves and be self-aware. And then we take all these resources in case you miss them, and we put them in our online digital library. And we love that our digital library already has over 15 video webinars and over 50 resources and articles. And so
Wow.
if you're a nanny looking to answer a question, how do I update my resume? Do I need a LinkedIn profile? What are some example interview questions I can prepare for? Oh my goodness, this family is rye. What in the world is rye? You can go in, if you're a US Nanny member, and go in and see all those resources. There's a section on special needs. And yay, I'm so excited. There's a section that's in Spanish.
Which, yes, that is such an important aspect of our community, is that we have so many Spanish speakers, which is wonderful. And a lot of times, yeah, the resources don't reflect that. So I'm so excited that you have a section in Spanish.
And so let's talk about membership. Yes, it's $25, and we take that money and we use that $25 individual membership fee to pay for local events where we want nannies to come together in local communities and have 4 or 5 people who learn about the US Nanny Association, and they get coffee and they help each other out, and have local meetings like mock interviews, which is one of the events we're hosting in Chicago, and that's coming up. We have
Yes.
a meeting in New Jersey where some of the New Jersey and New York Metro nanny agency owners are going to get together and talk about how to grow and help each other in those markets. And so the individual fees pay for the coffee and the meals and snacks that bring us together. And we set it at $25 because the contents and the resources of that digital library are worth it, but we
Mm-hmm.
don't want cost to be a barrier. We genuinely want to welcome everybody into our community and have enough money to pay for what we need to pay for, because nobody makes money off of this, but still keep it affordable so that everybody can feel comfortable saying, hey, look, I'll get way more than $25 out of joining this association.
Right. Yes. So if there is someone that's listening that can't afford that right now, are there ways to like apply for scholarships or anything?
So for the $25, you can ask your nanny employer. You can
That's a great
kind of
idea.
go to your family and friends and say, hey, can we join this together? Now, if there's a group of people who come together and they're all going to join, we can talk about it. But at $25, we really think it's affordable. So we don't really do sales and discounts.
Right.
However, International Nanny Training Day, which is coming up, I
Mhm.
encourage everybody to find one in their local community in April. There's a lot of those events that are doing giveaways. A lot of agency owners are doing giveaways of memberships. So that it's definitely out there if you're motivated to find something like that to help you get into our group.
Wonderful. Yes. And I agree that asking your nanny family uh, to give you access to all of these wonderful resources is a great idea, because to them it might not feel like that much, whereas it might feel like a lot to you. So that's a great route to go if you're feeling like $25 would be quite a bit for you, is to ask your nanny family, because I bet that they would love to help in that way, because then
And you
you are providing the best care, best practices for taking care of their children.
And the US Nanny Association isn't just for nannies. We've got nanny agency owners, and I will tell you, there are a lot of families that are joining our association because
Mm,
in that digital library and on our social media, we post resources for employers.
right.
There's a resource called the Ultimate Guide on How to Hire a Nanny that goes, it's 13 chapters and 30 plus pages that helps educate employers on what is the process, what does it mean to pay on the books, why is a background check is important. Here are some example questions that you can ask your potential nanny. And so if you're a nanny who's employed right now with the family, go to them and you can say, hey, look, this US Nanny Association has resources for you. It has resources for me. For 25 bucks, you can get your resources. And if you cover my 25 bucks, I can get resources. Because it doesn't matter whether you're a mom, a dad, or a nanny. If you want to understand what Reggio Emilia parenting philosophy is and how it differs from Montessori, or you want to say, hey, what milestone should my 18-month be doing versus my toddler, right? Or sorry,
Right.
my preschooler, those child development and childcare tips work for everybody.
Very true. Very true. And yes, I know so many nanny families that are consistently asking me questions and about things like that. And also nanny families that when their friends start having children are like, hey, Martha, help this family know how to get a nanny. So it would be wonderful to have a place to point them that has 13 pages already done so that I can help facilitate but not have to walk them through the entire process. That's wonderful.
And let's be honest, nanny families are usually undereducated on how to be employers, on how to support a nanny when they transition into a role. So we can talk about nanny orientations and trials. They may not have the right expectations between a nanny, a sitter, and a household management.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're a nanny interviewing, it's such a delicate time that it's easier to provide them with a resource that can
Right.
help them. So it comes from a respected association rather than the nanny having to educate that family. And what I
Right.
weird, yeah, and what I'll share is the resources in the digital library. When you're a member, you can actually download them and then have a copy and email them. And so that's very different than trying to send them a link. Now you can also send them a link. We've got stuff like that too. But it really is powerful to say, here's a service I'm providing to you as a tool to help you be better as an employer and as a parent.
Yes, sort of like when we are working with kids and we put on a timer for turn sharing.
Mhm.
And so then when the timer goes off, it's like, well, it wasn't me. I'm not making you share the timer. Sort of like that. It's like, it's not me telling you that you have to pay me on the books. It's this really, this nanny association.
Yes, and every day that we grow, it's wonderful to see how many organizations are joining us. So
Yes.
in addition to the individual membership, which we keep pretty low, we also want nanny agency owners, payroll companies, child product businesses to join us as well. And so I'm going to share for $325, these agencies, businesses all join us. They get a link on our website. But if they're experts in taxes, experts in payroll, they're also the resources that we're using to do our webinars. And we're going to share you their educational resources. And
Mm.
they're going to give us their best of the best that we can put in our digital library. So it's not just who our volunteers are finding as experts. We actually have businesses and educators in our industry who are coming to us and realizing, again, it's a platform that as long as we're educating and serving, we can use it in a powerful way.
Yes. Yes, I love that. So if a nanny or family or a business is listening, what are next steps? What should they do if they want to find out more and how to join and all of that?
Absolutely. To find out more, hit any of our social media channels, US Nanny Association. Our website has tons of information. It's usnanny.org. And everywhere on the website, it says click to join. And that will take you to an online payment, your 25 bucks. Right now, it's a manual website because we don't have a lot of money to make it truly automated. But within 24 hours, you'll get your welcome. Then you can link in and access the members only pages that have additional resources. including the digital library, but we also have a scholarship you can apply for that focuses on our standards and credentials. So you get additional resources beyond just the digital library.
Wonderful. Tell me more about the standards and credentials.
Yeah, so one of the big questions is, how is the US Nanny Association different from whatever is out there? And it's a smart question.
Mm-hmm.
The first way we're different is we are anchored in fact-based education, and that's how we serve our community. So the US Nanny Association compiled a group of experts across our industry, and they wrote what we call the National Nanny Standards.
Mm.
This is vital for our industry because so many people define things in different ways. If it's not part of the standard, it's a babysitter. I love babysitters. They have an important role in our childcare environment and in our economy. Then we defined what we called the basic nanny standards. And these are on the website at usnanny.org. You can see them, you can download them, you can print them. It's broken into 7 categories, and it clearly defines the knowledge and skills that a basic nanny should possess to be successful.
Mm.
We also have the professional nanny standards, and this is going to differentiate basic from professional, and that's an area that our industry really struggles with.
Right.
We have these standards, they're out there, download them, and you can look at them. And it allows nannies in our industry to build the career they want. Do they want to be a sitter? Do they want to be a basic nanny? Do they want to be a professional nanny? Build the career that's right for you. And then the US Nanny Association is different because we have a comprehensive credential program. And when I say comprehensive, it requires more than one thing. It requires, for the basic credential program, you must be 18 years old. You must have at least 1 year of paid and documented childcare experience.
Mm.
You must have CPR and first aid. You must have taken 20 clock hours or 3 semester credit hours of childcare training. And then you have to pass an exam that says you know and understand the basic national standards that were published. So it's not, what are we going to test you on? We're absolutely testing you on those published standards. And what this provides the nanny industry, it provides clear, concise definition of what a nanny is, and it provides a credential just like other professional trades. It's not just work experience or just training. It's all of that. And yes, CPR and first aid is required. And so it's leveling up the nanny industry to be on par and mirror exactly what happens if you're a nursing assistant, exactly what happens if you're working in the plumbing trade, so that when you say you're a nanny, it stands for a professional trade.
Yes. And that is, or it can be a huge issue. I know I see on the nanny groups all the time, people saying, you know, my mother-in-law teases me all the time that, you know, nanny is not a profession. Well, of course it is, but this is a really wonderful way to help give oomph behind that, and to standardize and credential the profession that we all know and love, and to differentiate between, you know, a babysitter and a basic nanny and a professional nanny. I really love that.
And you're not required to do these credentials, but when your
Right.
mother-in-law says something about you being a professional nanny, you can turn around and say, yes, I'm a professional nanny. The US Nanny Association gave me the professional nanny credential, and in order to earn that, I had to be 21 years old, I had to have CPR and first aid training, I had to have 3 years of childcare experience, I had to do 50 hours of college level childcare training or 6 semester hours, and I had to pass like 100 or 200 question exam that confirmed I am qualified.
Right.
And
Right.
when your response is that, then it kind of starts changing the conversation, whether you're talking to your mother-in-law or you're talking to professional employers.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're going to an agency and the agency says, hey, look, I don't know, it's a competitive market. What do you have that's different? Well, I've got
Right.
the US Nanny Association PNCP. Oh, you've showed a commitment to learning our trade, demonstrating our trade, and being qualified in our trade. That's powerful.
Yes. And when you say that you do offer scholarships for that, what are the costs associated with that?
So the scholarship program requires that you be a US Nanny Association member. So it's
Mhm.
$25 for that. And then the scholarships are essentially coming out of the money we get from organization members. So as
Oh, great.
organization members join for $325, we first pay our infrastructure costs. And I'll be honest, we would love to upgrade our website. Um, we'll get there. But
Yeah, you'll get there.
but we also take any overflow money we have, because again, nobody's making money off of this. Any overflow money we have, we put into scholarships. So you
Wonderful.
have to be a member, and then you have to apply for the scholarship, and you do have to show a financial need, because
Mhm.
we want to support the people who are committed to bettering themselves, are committed to our industry, are committed to their career, and would really benefit with a financial boost. If you have the financial resources, we hope that you just invest in your career as a professional.
Great. If you were to go that route of just investing, or if you talk to your nanny family and they're happy to pay it for you, what are those costs?
Absolutely. It depends on whether you're doing the basic program or the professional program. The
Mhm.
basic program is $75, and you have the option, you're not required to, but you have the option of taking a review class.
Mm.
The review class was written by the people who wrote the exams. It's a little bit dry because the review class just goes from standard to standard to standard, and it follows that format, and it teaches you what you need to know. But let's say you invested in a career in newborn care specialist.
Mhm.
You want to take the exam, but you're missing a couple of the other pieces. That review class can give you the opportunity to use your 20 hours of newborn care training for the requirement of training, but then you can get the review class if you need it to fill in some of the gaps. So as a nanny, you're still in control of whatever training you want to do for your career, but you can also have the confidence that you also aren't missing any gaps if an employer is expecting it.
Right. Right.
And the credential program for the professional is $295. And the reason that these costs exist is not to make money, it's because we actually have to do two things. We have to pay for a person to go through all of your documentation and confirm you're 18 years old, confirm your work experience, confirm that you've submitted your high school transcripts, or confirm that you've submitted your training, whatever's required. And that's just people working.
Right.
And then the second thing we do is the online exam is actually proctored virtually. So you can take it on your computer, but we have to pay a company to make sure you're not cheating. And so that's
Fair.
where those costs come from. It's not anything other than we're trying to get that program up and running.
Wonderful. That makes complete sense. And what qualifies as for those training hours? Would attending the INA conference or Nanny Palooza qualify?
Absolutely. So for the basic nanny credential, it's 20 hours. And we don't care what the 20 hours are. It can be International Nanny Association conference, it can be International Nanny Training Day, it can be Nanny Palooza, it can be childcare.com classes, it can be any class that gives you a certificate of completion and has your name, the class name, the date, and who taught it. We're going to go ahead and say 20 hours of childcare training.
Wonderful.
And again, it's to reduce the barriers because we want people to invest in their careers.
Mm-hmm.
The professional level is different. The professional level, we want to make sure that your training is by qualified educators. So now this can't be anybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can't just be a nanny training a nanny. It needs to be a college faculty member training a nanny. It needs to be an expert training a nanny. So for the 50 clock hours or the 6 semester hours, it has to be from a licensed post-secondary educational institute, because we need the quality of those 50 hours or 6 credit hours to be confirmed. So that requires a transcript, not just a certificate of completion. So your local community college often has online classes you can take that are extremely affordable. And then there are other programs out there that meet this Department of Education requirement to say it's quality training, not just industry training.
Wonderful. That makes complete sense.
A lot of people thought about this. um,
Yes, I
and
can tell.
I'd like to say that, we invented the wheel. We didn't. We didn't. all we did is we looked at the nursing industry. We looked at, honestly, we did look at plumbers. We're like,
Uh-huh.
that's a respected trade. Those people make $60 an hour. How do they
Right.
get that level of credibility and oomph? And so we looked at other career schools. We looked at other career credential programs. We looked at other career paradigms. And that's all we did. We copied it from them because we want nannies to be a professional trade like others. So let's use what they did and just apply it to where we are.
Yes. Yes, that makes total sense. I love this this for our industry. I love the possibility of standardizing and credentialing yourself if you choose to go that route. I also love that you can continue to exist without it, but it does really offer legitimacy and something to back up when you say, I'm a professional nanny. You can be like, here, this is how. And so I really do love that. Wonderful. Yes, all of that sounds so good, and I'm excited for nannies to go check that out at usnanny.org. What is on the horizon? What are some upcoming really exciting things that the US Nanny Association is doing?
Well, we are super excited because we've added two new board members, Stephanie McGraw and Robert Hooten. And we're not really sure because they're new, but they're in the process of working how, as our volunteer general counsel and director of ethics, and Robert is our government affairs director, they are building a platform and coming up with ways to work not just in our nanny community and with families and agencies, but what can we do within the structures of Washington, D.C., as well as state and local governments.
Mm.
And so Stephanie is already knee deep into this. She's a mom. She's had au pairs and nannies, and she has recently started reviewing big legal cases that impact our industry. Most recently, you may have heard about the au pair law case that came down. And so in her role, she's going to look at what's going on in the court cases, what's going on from a legal point of view, and really be able to assess, understand, and educate us in the industry, as well as talk about opportunities where we may or may not be able to have conversations that can impact what's happening legally in our industry. So we are super excited that Stephanie has joined our board.
Wonderful. Can you tell us just a little bit, in case somebody doesn't know about the au pair case, what
Yeah,
that involves? Just a
yeah.
little.
So a little bit, and definitely Google it, but
Right.
the au pair case is really making sure that that cultural exchange program, which brings people over from other countries to work 40 hours a week and then take cultural classes to learn about living in the United States, is working correctly.
Mm.
And that au pairs are not being used beyond the legal employment standards that are set for them. And
Wonderful.
so learn more about that case. So she's going to be keeping an eye on court cases and things that happen. And I'm so excited because I've never had somebody who's going to kind of bring that forth to us and help us learn about what's happening.
Yes, and I love that it takes us from this passive of like whatever the lawyers and the judges decide to a more active, like this is what's happening and these are things that we can potentially do about it.
Right. And what do we need to learn from it? As things
Right.
change or laws happen, Stephanie can help us say, hey, this is going to affect us this way, or this is what we can do. Or what we all struggle with in this industry is what laws are really enforced and what laws are not enforced. And how do
Mm-hmm.
we manage that? So she is a resource who is ramping up, and she's already reviewing stuff and coming up with great ways to kind of support our community. And I'm also excited that Robert Hooten is also coming on board. He's on board as our Director of Government Affairs. And Robert has experience in educating congressmen on the importance of training for EpiPens for those who have life-threatening allergies. And he's taking his network of congressmen in Washington, D.C., and his network and relationships and working for advocating on EpiPen training, especially for children with allergies. And he's come on board, and he wants to help educate and use those resources to help us have a voice and help congressmen know, yes, nannies are here. Yes, we're a respected profession. Yes, this is what we want you to know about our industry and how we're managing and growing in our industry. And so he's building up programs and using his experience to say, hey, look, we probably need a voice representing nannies in DC. And I think this is the first time any association has had a voice dedicated to nannies, dedicated to talking to our government leaders.
That's wonderful. That's so exciting. And I'm excited to hear more about where that goes since it's also new.
It's so new. And so we're going to have to give him some runway to figure it out. And, we're an organization built on volunteers. And the thing I'm most excited about, most impressed about, is how many volunteers are coming in and saying, I'm interested in doing this. Can the US Nanny Association be a platform? And for the most part, the answer is yes. If we can find people who know how to represent us in DC, fantastic. If you're in Indianapolis and you want to have a local event and find nannies in your area, fantastic. If you want to have professional development education, come to our webinars. We're going to definitely have that for you. And so my biggest joy in the last 5 months of launching this is seeing how many people are volunteering and being a part of this, because that's what it thrives on. And how many things that are happening that I wouldn't have thought of, because it's not my association. It's not Angela's association. It's not Emily's association. It's not even your association. It's our association. And to see that come to life and people dedicating their time and volunteering, it genuinely brings tears to my eyes.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. And I hope for people, for anyone listening, that you'll consider how your voice could help amplify all of this, and how your strengths could bring strengths to our nanny community. I really love the idea because our industry can be so isolating. You show up and you're sometimes inside a house for 10 hours, hopefully you're getting outside, but sometimes with weather and things, you're inside a house for 10 hours and it can feel like you're by yourself fighting these little battles alone, and you don't have to. So whether you come to the US Nanny Association from a place of I want to learn more, or hopefully growing into a place of I have something to offer.
And I'll tell you, I start my day on the US Nanny Association Facebook page because we have a morning quote.
Mm.
So whether you've been a nanny for 25 years and you have tons of experience and you're looking to see what's new, or you're new in the industry, there's usually a motivational quote that says, hey, look, I got this. I'm not alone. There's also a question that we kind of do every day. So if you're looking for that little bit of peer-to-peer engagement, we definitely want to provide that for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So if you are listening and you want to find out more, I have already linked in the show notes the US Nanny Association, usnanny.org. So the link is down there. All you have to do is click on it to go see the website and see what you can get out of it. And then also please follow on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram, all the social media. It's worth it to make those social media places helpful to you when they often can be even more isolating sometimes. So I love that there's this place within there that's a community and where everyone is welcomed.
We are so excited to welcome everyone, and not nannies, but nannies and newborn care specialists. We actually have a group of doulas that have become active recently in our platform, asking questions for when doulas then hand it off to the newborn care specialist, who then hands it off to the nanny. We've got nanny moms, nanny dads, we've foster parents. It's becoming a community, and it's so exciting because you never know who you can meet.
Yes. Lovely. Well, we end each episode with a cute, uplifting story, and I love the idea of our uplifting being that literally our community is uplifting one another by all the volunteers and people that are pouring their time into this. I also want to share that right now at my job, I'm working with two, I'm in a nanny share, and it's two kids that are right around 2 years old. One is already 2 years old, one will soon be two. And just the vocabulary bloom that has happened of late, and how they pick up on things so quickly. So I got a text yesterday from one of my nanny families that child was not in the nanny share yesterday. She was at home with her mom, and her mom texted me and she was like, did you teach her boom shakalaka? Because she's been dunking a basketball and saying boom shakalaka, and I love it. And I was like, yes, that was me. I did do that. And so I just love this idea that even, silly phrases like that, that we are teaching these kids so much, and they're sponges, and they really do soak it all up. And that's a silly example, but also they're learning they're naturally saying please and thank you. And it's not something that I've specifically, or any of us have specifically been telling them to do, but we've been modeling it, and just modeling it is really working wonders. So from please and thank you to boom shakalaka, what you model, you will see reflected back at you. And I just think that's lovely.
And that is so wonderful. And that's what is so amazing about, nannies in our childcare industry, is the power and the connection you can have with the child. And I will forever remember my very first live-in nanny, because she was a college student as well, and she was doing sign language as her major. And I loved the fact that she was teaching my little guy, she was kind of newborn to toddler ages as well, what you're kind of talking about. And she was doing so much sign language with him that they had their own language. It got so advanced, I didn't know what they were talking about. I knew the usual, more, milk, whatever, but she was signing with him at such an early age. And he doesn't really remember it now, but that was such a great thing, and it made her job so wonderful, and it helped my family and my child so much that I'll never forget that skill that she brought to our family. And she loved talking about me behind my back, She'd be like, look, mama dropped it on the floor. And I had no idea what they were saying, but the look in her face that went with her signs. And then my little son would just giggle, and it's so much fun to help them learn language and expression.
It is. I really have a blast every day at work now. And I was before, but just hitting that language bloom is really the start of one of my favorite ages.
Yes. And the expression, you start learning what they love, pumpkin pie, yummy.
Yes. It's been so fun to see as they which songs they want to play, because they both have I'm not going to say them so that I don't set off people's, but the robots, the house robots, and they both have different ones in their house, and seeing they can't set them off yet, but they try, and seeing which songs they request and which songs are no, not that one today. I want Wheels on the Bus, things like that. It's so fun to watch their autonomy grow too.
Can you program them so they're not allowed to play Baby Shark?
I wish. I don't know. Maybe I should look that up, because it's coming where they will be able to turn it on with their own voices.
Right? That is so wonderful. Thank you so much, Martha, for sharing, your life as a nanny and all the things that you're doing. It's wonderful.
Yes, and thank you for taking time to talk to us about this really wonderful resource, but also community to go look in and be a part of. I love that there is a place that there are very, very few barriers to belonging to, and I really am excited to be a part of it myself.
And thank you for this opportunity to share kind of who we are, what we're trying to do. We are only 5 months old, and so it's
Right.
amazing to see what's been happening so quickly. And people are like, what's in the future? And the answer is, I don't know. It's up to the members and the volunteers. This could become whatever people want to make it, and that is nerve-wracking, but mostly incredibly exciting.
Yes, wonderful. Well, be sure to click the link down in the show notes, and we will see you in a couple weeks. Thanks for listening. The Chronicles of Nania is produced and hosted by Martha Reddick. Artwork by Noni Amadan. Theme music by Brad Kemp. Find him at secondbedroomstudio.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Chronicles of Nania, and on Twitter at Nania Podcast. To contact us, email chroniclesofnania@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.
This show has been brought to you by Machine Culture.